What is happening, everybody? I'm Sara and this is Branded. Larry can't be here today, but he says hello. And I am so excited to introduce my guest, who's really my co-host for today, since it's just the two of us. But it's Stacy. Let's go. She is a website copywriter, brand messaging strategist, and she helps businesses define their brand story and clearly communicate it to their dream clients. We are going to be talking about some, no BS marketing and taking a look at some of the things that people do to kind of clickbait their clients into working with them and the better ways to do it, because nobody likes that. So Stacy, welcome to Branded, and I'm excited to have you here.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. A little bit of pressure with the co-host. I don't know if I'll have any 80s, references like Larry, but I'll do my best to bring it.
If you do, I won't get them. So it's fine. I never get them when he says it either. I actually, since you brought that up, last week I'm on a meeting. We're meeting with a client, and I was like, I feel like the song for the show should be like the Indiana Jones theme song. And then I started humming the final countdown from Rocky, and they're like, that is not Indiana Jones.
No, that's not.
I'm going to hang up and y'all can continue this wonderful conversation without me. And I'm going to hide under my desk.
Oh my God. That's so funny. But you got a good story out of it.
Everything happens for a story.
Right.
It's, it's the way it is, especially in my life. Well, I'm excited to really dig into this. One of the things that, we are very similar in what we do. I started as a copywriter. I do brand strategy, brand messaging, and all of that. And we see it all the time with what you call the BS, the sleazy, marketing copy. And tell us more about that. What is it that you see the most that you just cringe at?
Oh gosh. Well, how long do you have?
No. About 30 minutes.
There you go. I see it in both brand messaging and the copywriting. So I want to start with the brand messaging first, even though that wasn't really what you asked.
Go for it.
But, just thinking, because that's the foundation of what you're going to write about. And so I think lately there's been all these big buzzwords people have been throwing around, like authenticity. And I'm about authenticity. Don't get me wrong, being authentic is a good thing. But to use it as one of your brand values because it's, jumping on the bandwagon of what everybody else is doing is the opposite of being authentic. And so I really always struggle when I hear brands talking about what they value and what's important to them, and that changes based on whatever trends there are in the marketplace. So to me, that's super shady.
I feel like part of that probably is due to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And everything these days is authentic. It's holistic.
Yeah.
It's always holistic. And we always delve into why these are holistic and authentic.
That's true, right? Because it's going to skyrocket our sales.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
No, and I think there's truth to that, but also, on the flip side of that, whatever's on ChatGPT is because it's things people have been saying, and so I think that it doesn't set you apart when you're doing all these things that all these other businesses are already doing, and it definitely doesn't make you authentic. So I hate that piece of this is our mission, this is our vision, these are our values, these are the things that set us apart, when you really are just copying what other people are doing and what you're emulating what's working for them. That's not going to work for you. So, that's sort of the foundational piece. But when it comes to copywriting, I think the biggest thing for me is it's about, we know people buy with emotion. Or they, justify with logic, but mainly we're emotionally driven. We're humans. And so, it's not like you can't draw upon emotion when you're speaking to people in the copy, but there's a fine line between evoking emotion and exploiting emotion.
Yes.
And copy that exploits emotion, I just think has no room. There's no room in marketing for that. And so this is things like agitating pain points unnecessarily. I recently talked to this story, got me really upset. I recently talked to a business coach who had a client of hers that paid all this money for brand messaging strategy. And she served women with alopecia. And the entire marketing strategy was around agitating the pain point around their hair loss and how it made them feel.
That is mean.
It is. It's so mean because it's going to work, right? Nobody's going to say these sales tactics will actually work. If you beat someone down and make them feel like garbage about themselves, and then you pivot and say, I have this solution for you, people will buy it.
Yeah.
But that's not ethical. That's the kind of thing that is just so shady, is when you know a practice is going to work and you use it just for the sake of a sale without thinking about the toll it takes on the human on the other side of your screen.
Now, when you said it that originally, I thought of a different kind of example, and I want to get your take. Is this what you're talking about too? So I deal a lot with storytelling and helping people tell their stories. And people think that the story that they tell has to be their like childhood trauma story. And they will try to like shoehorn it in to every like presentation, every speech. Like that's really just where they like stake their claim. And then they try to connect it to a pitch or a message that just does not at all connect. So it's like, I was adopted and then I had childhood cancer and then I was an orphan. So buy my software to improve your emails. What? What?
Yes, it's okay. So I actually have the perfect example. I took a screenshot of this email that I got recently, and I was like feeling petty about. I've really been wanting to write a post about it on LinkedIn.
Oh my God!
And then I feel like it's going to be petty, but I'm just going to go ahead and
do
share
it.
So
we love petty
right
here.
After the election, and all these people were sending emails like just checking in, or how are things going this week? And so I got an email, and the subject line was just checking in. And then the preview text was like, really, I just want to make sure you're okay. So I was, curious. I opened it, and the whole first 2 paragraphs were all about, I know that this can be a challenging time for some people, and I want to express, and she pivoted after 2 paragraphs right into, and that's why you should buy my new. I was like, are you kidding me? So like, I took a screenshot before I unsubscribed, but it's like quickest unsubscribe on the planet, because no, you don't actually give a shit how I'm doing. You didn't care about me. And that to me is like, that's just, where's the conscience when you're emailing someone to say like, I'm just checking in, are you okay? And really, I'm just trying to sell you something. And so that kind of thing, I think it's, similar to the story you were just sharing.
Yeah. We actually, Larry and I were judges at a speaking competition a couple months back, and everyone had exactly 10 minutes to give a speech, and they wanted you to tell stories because that's what speeches should be. And I think 10 out of 10 of them were a traumatic, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me story. And I'd say 8 out of 10 of them, it did not connect to the message. And we were just sitting there like, yeah, that's great. I'm crying, but why did you make me cry right now? Like, why did you have to do this? This has nothing to do with like the story you were telling and the message you were trying to present.
Yeah. And long term, that's not a sustainable strategy. No. But I mean, like short term, things like that definitely work. And that's where I'm always so hesitant to post something that's like, hey, this, here's this, let me spin this into a business analogy, because most of the time, like it's just not. I posted on LinkedIn once, I'm like, what a trip to the botanical garden taught me about business. And then I was like, nothing, don't read crap like this.
Can you post that and like, that is the article? Just nothing, yeah. Don't read crap like this.
That's what I totally did. And so I actually, it's funny, last week posted something about, and I think the subject line was something like, I once dated a guy in college just because he was hot.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, all these people were like, I was curious to see where this was going, but I actually pivoted it to making sense about like, it caught my attention that he was hot, but it wasn't a sustainable relationship, right? Like I got tired of that really quickly. And it's the same thing with when your content, you're just doing surface level attracting people. So to me, I feel like that was an actual real connection that I was able to make, but doing it in that other way of like, I want to get you just to read this because I want you to follow my content, or I want you to, click on my website or do this thing. It, like I said, it works short term, but to what effect?
I think that's the difference between being an influencer and being a thought leader. It's like the influencers are going to post the flashy, like, I want to follow this person because they look good, or they like, I'm going to wear those sunglasses. Like Regina George wore army pants and flip-flops, so I bought army pants and flip-flops. But the thought leaders are the ones that actually make you like stop and think. and change your perspective or appreciate something new.
Yes.
And that is what's sustainable. That's what's going to build your brand past the facade.
Exactly. And if any marketing, I think, even the marketing that does work effectively, that is exploiting emotions over time. I mean, there's something to be said for brand loyalty. And at some point, people are either going to realize like, hey, your marketing makes me feel like garbage, and they're going to go find someone else to work with, or they're not even going to perceive you as a solution anymore, right? They're just going to want to stop reading your emails, stop reading your advertising, because all you're doing is making them feel bad about themselves. And whenever I see advertising like that, I'm like, no, advertising should never make you feel crappy.
And I think that's also why like I guess the trends in like advertising and marketing are changing so heavily. And you don't see a lot of like the traditional, unless you're like watching television where it's like TV ads, you don't see a lot of those like old timey sales messages, because everyone is starting to realize you have to weave it into stories. You have to do all of this. And there's better ways to evoke emotion than the just classic, this is what's wrong with you and here's how to fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how do you recommend we fix that? What are the better ways to do it? How do you get rid of that BS?
Whew. Well, I think that's a loaded question. You said we only have 30 minutes, but
rapid fire. Let's go.
A couple of initial thoughts here. I mean, I think it's just really everything always goes back to connecting with your target audience. Like you have to become obsessed with your ideal client and understand what motivates them, what triggers them to buy, what helps them make decisions. And yes, I know that we buy to avoid pain. I understand all the sales psychology, but I also know people do want transformations. They do have hopes. They do have dreams. And there are things that motivate and trigger them to buy that are beyond just, those pain points. And so I think it starts with really in-depth research and getting to know your clients, because if your copy is speaking directly to them and they feel seen and they feel valued, you don't need to resort to things like agitating those pain points. For sure, definitely bring up like, hey, it's really frustrating when XYZ happens, and then move on to here's how I can help you with that. Like, here's how your life can be different or better after. So I think that, in the copy itself, and then we didn't even talk about, there's, so many tactics people use like fake scarcity and urgency. And I think it's just when people take tactics that are good, there's nothing wrong with scarcity if there's genuine scarcity. But this like, hey, my PDF download and limited copies. No, there's not. Like, that's not
how that works. That's just you turning it off.
Right. Right.
Which you can say if that's how you want to do it. Be like, I am shutting this link down after the first 25 people, but don't at least word it honestly.
Right. Yes.
Oh, you see so much of that. And it's the like, we only have one spot left for the first 6 people who take it.
Right.
Like, okay.
Or my favorite is the email that after, like I know I said that the sale was closing at midnight, but all these people have been emailing me since, or oops, there was a glitch with the tech. No, there wasn't.
No, you just didn't get the numbers you wanted, and now you're trying again.
Exactly. And just say that.
Yeah. And it amazes me that things like that still work. Like, don't people see through it?
I think at some point they do. And I guess, it just sort of depends, I think, on where people are. So when I first started out copywriting, everything that was like, learn this about copywriting, or, here's how to do this with freelancing, I was like, oh, let me read all the things. And then once you start feeling more confident and comfortable and under what you're doing and you feel like you're an expert, you start to see through those things. So I think it just depends. If you're targeting people who are in that stage of either like problem unaware, or they're aware they have a problem, but they don't know all their solutions, then they're going to consume all the things. And so it's more likely that they'll fall for those. So I think it's, again, if you know where people are in their buying journey and you exploit that, that's also shady.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like the companies that do this the most have like a cult following, and people do not care. And I was a speaker at this event that was meant to like teach people how to be speakers. And it's a group. So people are paid members into this like into this group. I'm not. I do not buy into it. I was there just speaking. And the woman who runs it, she's giving her presentation, and it's how she gets people to buy into this group. And she's like, so here is like in this part of your speech, you want to lay this foundation for this. And then that leads up to this. And people are like on the edge of their seat. I'm like,
Gosh.
y'all, that's how she got you here. Aren't you seeing this? Like you're learning how to make people fall for the thing you just fell for.
Yeah.
I was in awe of the cult like reaction to this. I'm like, how sheep, like she did this to you. It felt so slimy.
Yeah, that's awful. But I mean, it goes to that whole social proof thing, right? And where that's another way people exploit people is, oh, hey, I have, 70,000 followers or 100,000 followers. And so they put things out there that they know aren't necessarily the greatest quality or whatever, but people are going to buy it just because so many other people are following them. And so you can make a fortune that way. If you're selling a $10 product to tens of thousands of people, and so I think that that's another, pretending you have expertise in an area and just you've grown a following. And then you're using that to make sales, not really solving someone's problem.
What are we mentioned a few, but like other tactics that you've seen people use that you're just instantly just no?
I mean, the clickbaity is a problem. I can tell you, so using social proof in the wrong way, that's something else that really gets me really upset. I actually wrote in one of my first emails I sent to my email list was about this. And I cannot tell you the number of replies that I got. And I even had some people who were like, oh my gosh, was it this person? Because I think they did the same thing to me. And I was like, I'm not saying anything.
But was it?
Yes. It was.
Name them.
I won't do it. I cannot tell you the amount of pressure people are like, please just tell me. But basically what he did is
okay, so it's a he.
It's a he. That's all I'm giving you.
We narrowed it down 50%.
50%. That's it. He sent me a DM on LinkedIn and gave me I don't know, some piece of advice or something, right? He just said just a little tip. And so being polite, I messaged him back and I was like, oh, thanks for that. Thanks for the tip on whatever it was. I really appreciate it. And he had asked me about a deal that I had been talking to him about. And then I told him, oh, and I closed the deal, blah, blah, blah. Had nothing to do with the advice that he gave me. And then I'm on LinkedIn a couple of days later, and I see a screenshot of our DM, which first of all, that's a private DM. And that bothers me. Like, ask somebody's permission. Didn't ask my permission. And there's a screenshot and he's using it as a testimonial for his course, which I did not take. And so I immediately sent him.
Was your name in it?
So this is the other thing he did. My name was, so in the first it was in it. And I emailed him or DM'd him. I was like, I need you to take that down. I was like, you didn't ask my permission. That has nothing to do. It's totally taken out of context. And I was like, you should have either asked me first or you should have made sure that my name was removed from it. Right. Mm-hmm. So I got this whole oh, I'm so sorry. My VA posted that and I didn't double check it. I'll take it down right away. So it did actually get taken down. And this is another quick unsubscribe. I was on his email list. A week later, an email comes out with the same screenshot in it. And he lightly crossed through my name and just a little bit of my picture, but enough that anybody who had seen me before would know that it was me. And he used it again as a testimonial for his course. And actually, one of the people who reached out to me said they had actually purchased his course.
Because of you?
Because of it.
Oh.
I was so mad. So I unsubscribed.
Can you report him to the Better Business Bureau or something?
I should have. I definitely blocked him after sending him, some choice words there. But I was like, what you did is absolutely horrendous. Somebody trusted in me. And so they made this purchase. And so I think that that's kind of an egregious example, but
that happened to me too, though. Kind of. Okay. So I met this girl. She was a sales coach, and she wanted to launch a podcast. So on trade, I was like, I'll launch you a podcast. And she let me into her mastermind, which was like a $8,000 or $9,000 mastermind for just like an 8-week thing. And I think it was like the first session, I had been in talks with a friend of mine who had just started a job at this company, and they had already been planning on launching a podcast, and they needed someone to come in and help. So me and her had been talking about it. I'd already had the meeting in person to discuss it, and they already had the proposal and everything. And so I get into this first mastermind session, and she's like, okay, so everyone give like a win for the week. And I was like, oh, I just closed the deal. I'm bringing on a new client. She's like, oh, amazing. Like how much is the contract? And I said $3,000 a month with a 6-month minimum. The next day I see a post from her on LinkedIn saying, so proud of my client who after just one meeting with me closed an $18,000 contract.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to ask you when this recording is over. I have a feeling I know who it might be.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And then you have to tell me who yours was. But I'm like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, and like, I thought she was a friend. We were like already friends at this point. And like that, you had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I was like, because I had like a personal relationship with her, I didn't know what to do. I was so uncomfortable. And I kind of just started sliding it into like the next time I talked to her, because she had texted me after she posted that saying like, congrats again. I'm so proud of you. I'm like, thanks. Yeah. My friend was like really great for hooking me up with this like opportunity, and I couldn't have done it without her. Like, just be like, you had nothing to do with this.
What did she say?
I don't know. I don't remember. This was like a year ago. I ended up like the client was terrible. We ended up ending the contract after 2 months after I threatened to sue them. But still friends with my friend, not the sales coach. Haven't talked to her. But it's amazing. Like, people will post testimonials that just don't exist, and they post that social proof that doesn't exist, and people fall for it.
Yes. I mean, because social proof's powerful. It's such a great tool when you have legit testimonials.
But then like I looked back at like all of her posts, and all of them were like that. It's like, my client did this, like my client did that. I'm like, how many of these are complete BS?
Yep.
It was that moment I'm like, okay, this girl is a fraud. Like a complete fraud. And I knew people who, like, one of my clients wanted to partner with her on something, and I'm just like, don't do it. Like,
don't do it.
Don't put your name with her. Just don't.
Because if you have real results, you don't need to use those kinds of
I know. And like I post testimonials, but they are actual testimonials that I have permission to post. And I'll even, like, working with some of my clients that I am working on their brand messaging, I'll interview their clients. And before I even ask them questions, I say, if there's anything that you say in this session that could be used as a testimonial, do I have your permission to post it as a testimonial? And they'll either say yes, or they'll say yes, but send it to me first. And if they don't say that, I do not use it. Like, I'll incorporate it into copy or something, but I'll never use it as a testimonial. And I thought that was just common sense.
You would think, right? I'm like, that's just common courtesy and respect. And, you know, it makes you always question everything. And so, you know, best practice is pair your testimonials with photos when you can, with names and all of those kinds of things. But even that, you know, if I hadn't happened to see that one LinkedIn post, how would I have known? So how many times does this happen when we're not even aware of it?
Yeah. And that's why I don't often ask for testimonials, but like if someone might send me an email that says something that's, I'm like, hey, would you mind if I use this as a testimonial? But when I do ask, I ask for a video. I'm like, hey, could you record a quick video testimonial just talking about your experience? And they do. And sometimes I don't post a video. I will just post a quote, but at least like I have the video and I can like embed it on my website, or I can do something with it, or I can even, like, if someone questions it, be like, hi, here it is.
Yep. Here's the video.
Like, there's just no trust, and there's no like integrity anymore, it seems like.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, I had a client who wanted me to do a sales page and gave me all of these testimonials to use. And I said, I thought this was the first time you were doing this course. And he
Uh-huh.
said, well, it is. I said, then how do you have these testimonials? And I said, if they're from something that's relevant or similar, absolutely we can use them. We just need to be transparent about like where they came from or how it was related. I'm like, but you can't just put these out there. And we ended up just getting rid of like, I refunded him his money. I didn't write the rest of the sales page because he was so adamant about like, nope, we're going to include these and you're going to do it this way. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I won't have any part of it. I'm sure you'll find some other copywriter who'll be happy to do that for you. But that's just, it's not honest.
Yeah. No, I went through something similar too with setting up a sales page for an online course that had never been done before, but it was connected to a book. So we used like testimonials from the book or from people who worked one-on-one with the person. And they said that it's like, I've worked with this person for this many years and this is like what happened. Or I read the book and was able to apply this. So it's like, there are ways to do it ethically, guys.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't have to be slimy. And if I know someone is like really good with one-on-one and they wrote a book that is really helpful, I'm going to assume the online course is going to be good.
Right.
You don't have to lie to me.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're really giving something that's of value, then just be honest. I mean, that's what I recently launched a cohort, and it was the first time I did it as a cohort, but I had done the service one-to-one prior. So I used those testimonials, and that made sense because it was the same service. It was one-to-one. And it was, people knew that it was the beta launch of this cohort. They were very clear with all of that, where the testimonials came from. Absolutely, you can use stuff like that. But yeah, just making stuff up or using random testimonials that have nothing to do, or you didn't even buy their service, that's shady.
And it's not hard to get honest testimonials. I have a form that it's like if I do like a workshop or I do something with somebody, I just send them a form afterwards, like a feedback form that just says like, how did you like it? Is there anything you would change? Anything that you like? What did you like about it? And then there's a checkbox at the bottom. Do I have your permission to use anything you say here as testimonial or marketing copy? If they say yes, it can become a testimonial if it's good. If they say no, it's just for my knowledge. And if there's things that they said I should change, I take that into effect.
Yeah. Yep.
But you send that to everyone and you get instant testimonials.
And even things like, I will take screenshots all the time from texts or emails clients send me because I'm like, oh, that's amazing social proof. And I just email them back really quickly like, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Are you okay with me using this as social proof? And if you're good at your job and you're good at what you do, you're going to just get that social proof anyway. And so that's where I'm always so hesitant when I see things like that, like, the DM chat or whatever from the workshop and my client, this, my client, that, or like my client with just the initials, my client SL. And I get it. Some people want to be anonymous, but if all of your clients are anonymous, I start to question.
Yeah. I mean, I think at one point I was just doing like last initial just because I didn't want to like call it. But then I'm like, wait, they did this. Like they knew that I was going to use this. Like I can put their name. Yep. And it's also kind of marketing for them because I also put their company.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Like that's just free marketing right there. But there are some things like on my sales page for my book, I have a whole section where it's just like, I just screenshot things that people said, but it's things that they posted on social media. So it's like, you're probably okay with people seeing this. You posted it.
You posted it on
like, this is you giving my book a shout out.
Yes.
And I just have it labeled like love notes found in the wild or something.
Yeah, that's perfect. And also I'm really impressed you made it like 29 minutes before you mentioned your book.
Rude.
See, I have to give something Larry to look at later and appreciate about this.
Okay. If anyone wants to learn how to tell their story, openthisbook.com. No.
Read it. You guys have to read. I do know some of the stories. I heard about some of the stories that are in there. And so for sure, people should read your book.
And I also wasn't as petty as I was in the book because I didn't name the person. Because in the book, I call out somebody and I literally say, one woman, and we'll call her Lisa because that's her name. Like, I'm not going to protect you. Like, if I had your last name, it would be in there too. I want to make you famous. And I've searched.
Potentially a favor.
Yeah, it's for, no publicity is bad publicity, right?
Right.
No, I've searched for her trying to figure out what her last name is. I want to send her a signed copy.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I can't find her. No one knows where she is. We've had like task forces in place trying to figure out who this girl was.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Somebody has to read your book one day and know who
I
it is.
know
If you
her.
have a
I
little
know
thing in the book, like
Lisa.
if you know who Lisa is, please reach out.
Oh my God, I'm gonna post that. Like,
Yeah,
have you
you
seen
need to do
Lisa?
that.
Oh my God, I'm gonna make a wanted poster.
And you need a version 2 of your book. And that needs to be like, hey, when you get to the Lisa story, if you recognize her, here's how you can contact me.
Oh my God, you have so many ideas. You're so good at this. All right, so we talked about a lot about what not to do. Let's give a few what to do's.
Let's segue there.
Yes, I can do it too, Larry.
Yeah. Well, so I think, again, it just goes back to what I mentioned at the beginning, connecting with your target audience, really knowing what drives them and what motivates them and what they're hoping to achieve, and using that in your marketing and in your copywriting to connect with them. And so really helping them picture what this transformation is and making sure they understand how your solution actually solves their problem. Because I really do. I just believe if you connect with people and you make them feel seen, they will connect with your content. It will resonate, and you're more likely to convert people into potential clients or customers. And so I think that's just the key piece, is connecting with what matters to them. And I think being transparent in your copy is really important too. I love the who is this for? Who is this not for? Not when people do it. See, that's another way people do it shady sometimes. Like, this is not for you if you don't have the dedication and commitment to like, I've seen that. But let people know who it's for and who it's not for up front. Let people know what the kind of time commitment is that's involved in things. Make sure that you're giving people all the information they need in order to make informed decisions. And I think that that's a really important thing, is not withholding information from people.
I think, and there's like some really simple, like little tweaks that I think people really need to make to like have that connection be a little bit stronger. And one of the things that I talk about when I talk to like clients about this is just switch out negative words for positive words.
Yep.
Like it's so simple. Like instead of saying like you don't have to be unhappy, just say you can be happy. Like just make that simple change. It lightens the whole tone of what you're doing. And it makes it feel like something like, oh, I want to do this, versus like kind of pushing it away. Like, well, how do you know I'm unhappy?
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
so
Or
simple.
even if you do something like that, like in a headline, even if you are, calling out something like being unhappy, then that subheadline, the copy right after, should immediately turn around and talk about like how you can transform it or how you can change that. And, instead of what I see people doing, which is like, let me just dig in and twist the knife a little bit more. It's the let me just show you how that can be different for you.
Yeah. And then I think the other one is switching from I to you. Like, I can do this. It's like, or you can experience this.
Yes.
That like this isn't about you. Like I talk about this, like we met at the Badass Business Summit, and I was talking about pitching, like how to pitch if you on a podcast. We don't care about you. We care about us.
Yeah.
Don't
Your
tell me
clients
what you
there.
do. Tell me what I can get.
Yeah.
What's the value?
It's funny because that to me is like that's a given, right? Of course I'm going to talk about you, but I know that, from being a copywriter. But yeah, that's always what's in it for them. And so that's what I tell people all the time. I love doing that, so what activity where people will say, well, this will help you streamline your operations. That's something you see a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what? What does that mean for somebody? And then so that means that they would have more time. Okay, so what? What does that mean? Okay, so that they would have less stress. Okay, so what? So then they go home earlier. They get to spend more time with their family. Then that's what you can speak to them about, instead of like, are you tired of feeling stressed out and overwhelmed and, like you don't have any time? It's like, hey, what if you could gain, time with your family stress-free?
Yeah.
And so it's just like you said, flipping it on its head, but really digging in and like, what's in it for you, or what's in it for me? That's what the customer always wants to know, and just speaking directly to that.
I love that. And I think that's an exercise that everyone should do. Like go to your own website, go to your own sales pages, and just ask yourself that. It's so simple, but it's so genius. But everywhere that you say something, ask yourself, so what? And just keep doing it until you get to the heart of it.
Yep.
But it also makes me like come back to what we were talking about with stories, because you said you need to make that connection, and connections happen through stories. But stories don't have to be the traumatic childhood story. Testimonials are stories. Case studies are stories. Use things like that that actually relate and offer that social proof, offer that credibility. And you don't have to like bear it all to prove
Exactly.
that you're good at what you do. Just talk about the stuff that you do and how it has helped other people, because that's what they want to know. It's about, what can you do for me?
Yeah. And that's their stories. I love when people share their clients' stories, right? Like, this is how it helped, because people can see themselves in other people's stories. And so, helping them visualize what that transformation is that's really powerful. And it's a really effective way, instead of, making people feel bad because they have hair loss.
That one is, so when I was a copywriter for an ad agency, we had a client that was like a tech, like a STEM camp for kids. And they wanted to like get more girls involved. Like it was for like young kids. So they're like, okay, headline, STEM for girls. What? What's the difference between STEM for girls and STEM for boys? Did you simplify it so our little lady brains can handle it? What?
We made it easier for you.
It still makes me mad. Like, that is my least favorite. And we had to publish it because I gave them so many other options, and the client just be like, no. We're like, well, here's why that's a bad idea. No, we like it. I'm like, how about like bite like a girl, BYTE? How about like girl coders? Like things that are cute, that aren't make you feel bad about not being able to understand boy STEM.
Right. Like, what do? Make their things pink? Like,
I'm not gonna lie, like I do make everything pink, so I love that. But I'll still buy things that aren't pink and paint them myself.
I'll paint them myself.
that example of just like how copy can just make everything worse is always what I think of, and it makes me upset.
Well, and what you said, the whole, well, we like it, but it's not about you. You are not your target audience. So you're not what do they care about? Because that's what you should be speaking to.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, but you are clearly someone who knows how to see through the BS and not post brand copy that's filled with BS. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, learn more about what you do and how you do it, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm always on LinkedIn, so that is the first best place to come find me. And then my website, which is being revamped, so it'll be ready and refreshed in the next couple months, but people can still check it out. It's just my name, www.stacylesko.com. And then my email list is a place where I love to connect with people too. I know people don't usually think of email lists as a place to connect, but I really love my email community and getting replies to my emails, and have built a lot of great connections that way. So those are all great places to find me.
Love it. And if you found value and not BS in this episode, hit that subscribe button so we can keep bringing these awesome episodes to you every week. Nailed it. That's such a Larry kind of thing, and I got to do it this time. But with that, thank you so much, Stacy, for being here. I'm Sara Losi. He's Larry Roberts, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it.